it is a factor, but I don't think that's kind of the most holistic approach to success. I don't think that's like what will keep you happy long term, right? And in this situation, right, it's not like you don't have the resources or the information on what to do, right?
Hmm.
Because we live in a time where everything's at the tip of our fingers. Less thinking, more doing. That's it.
Hmm. All right, that
Take
yeah,
action. I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to, like,
yeah.
we're in 2025.
Welcome back to the Thomas Fattia podcast, everybody. Today, in this great episode, I have a great friend on, Matej Marian, and we're going to be talking about some topics that are rarely discussed nowadays. We're going to be touching into self development and hustle culture, some really interesting topics that Matej brought forward. And there's going to
Well,
be some interesting
I wouldn't say I brought
discussions.
them forward, Thomas, but I wouldn't say I brought them forward, but they're definitely very important topics to discuss. And I think they apply to like what everyone's kind of going through today at
Yeah.
our age. So we'll see.
Yeah, I find that especially in our generation, I think people are starting to become more awake and aware of what they're doing. So I think that's why self-development is kind of becoming more popular for our generation.
Yeah. I mean, when do you think you like first started noticing that like people were, I don't know, reading more self development books, watching more videos?
Hmm.
For me, I think it was like grade 11.
Oh, that early, eh? I honestly think it was more so in university for me because that's when you start to see people are starting to take it seriously because that's the first time when they're going away from home in a sense. So it's really up to them
Mhm.
to figure out how to like survive in many senses, survive to get the marks you need to like stay in socially. Also, just purely from like a natural perspective, eating because now you don't have your parents making food and just calling you
Right.
downstairs. So you got to go down there and
So then I think it's important then if we talk about like self development,
yeah.
we should probably define it like because there's obviously, trying your best at school to achieve your goals and studying and, being on your own.
Hmm.
It's definitely a lot more responsibility than when you're with your parents.
Hmm.
But I feel like self-development, when most people refer to that, it's like trying to, I don't know, quote unquote, like reach the best version of yourself through exercise, a healthier diet, and just
So yeah, let's
like
talk about
trying to
that
make your
then.
lifestyle.
Let's talk about that then. So if you're saying
Yeah.
self development is bringing yourself to like this end goal, what is that for you? What does success look like for you?
Okay. Well, this is the thing. I don't know if self-development and success necessarily go hand in hand.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Well,
Why not?
that's why it's important to define what we consider self-development, and then if you're gonna bring up success, what is
Hmm.
success, right? Because everyone can have a different idea of what it
Yeah,
really is.
yeah.
So what do you think?
For me personally, I think success is firstly, obviously, I'm Christian, so I think one of the key fundamental principles of success is getting into heaven, because then you truly know you've done something right. But in terms of on earth, I'd say success would be getting a a lovely wife, having many children, spreading the kingdom, and I'd also
Okay.
say having securing a true sense of freedom because I think that's why because a lot of people when they say success, they think of it in a monetary perspective. But what is that money for? It's there to give you
That's the
more
thing.
access to freedom.
Okay, so I think it's great that you clarify that because I agree. I don't think, I mean, you can't think of success as like, when you open up your whatever your mobile banking app and whatever how many digits appear in your wallet.
It certainly is a
That can be
factor. It is
classified.
a factor.
It is a factor, but I don't think that's kind of the most. holistic approach to success. I don't think that's like what will keep you happy long term, right?
Mhm. Why does it not keep you
So, like
happy
you said,
long term?
well, because I think the things you mentioned are much more important. Having a family,
Mhm.
a beautiful wife,
Yeah.
etc.
Mhm.
So, okay, so I would agree with that. Now that we've kind of clarified and defined what success is,
Mhm.
do you think self development is the same or is a similar thing?
Yeah, because and from my perspective, I'm curious to hear what yours is, and also what you guys think down below in the comments. Feel free to engage. But for me, I think that that's the purpose of self development. Because if you're not having this thing that you're working towards, then what are you like self developing for? What do you think about that?
So then I have to, well, what I think about that is then I have to ask the question, what are you working towards? What are you developing in yourself? That is the end goal, right?
The what I mentioned earlier.
Because so your standard of success.
Mhm.
But then it's interesting because self development refers to oneself, right? Like
Mm,
you as an individual,
I see. Yeah.
developing yourself. But do you think going out and looking for, I don't know, a wife or a girlfriend or trying to create and foster a family would be considered also self development? Because I feel like self development is such a new thing. I don't know. And people have been having families and doing this, whatever, forever. But the concept of self development, I feel like, is so new. And honestly, I
Mm.
don't know.
Yeah,
Would you agree with that?
yeah, I do see what you mean. I think the more popular sense of the term is not necessarily, as you said, like going to like your personal standard of success, but I think it's more so just maxing out different factors of your life. For example,
That's right. I would
like
agree with that.
yeah, like working out, good sleep, good mental habits. I think that's what that. Yeah, that's correct.
So out of those things, do you think would you say you align yourself with max self development?
What do you mean by that?
I don't know, all those things you just mentioned, working out, sleep, diet, etc.
Hmm.
Do you try to practice that? Like,
Yeah, I try to practice that, and yeah, I also touched on this on my last episode that you guys can see over here. But a very important factor of that is when you're working towards that is to make sure to maintain being realistic. Because one thing I learned from journaling, I'll just give you guys a preview of that episode, is that you
okay,
learn how uh, unreliable you are at times, and you need to be realistic. Because what I do is when I go to bed and I wake up, like I timestamp like when I wake up and when I go to bed. So whenever I say, "Oh, I want to go to bed by this time," like I have the statistics in front of me. I can go and flip through like 2 months ago and be like, "So in the past 2 months, have I done this? No." And then that really tells you something about yourself and how you have to improve. So I do think I I think I'm in like a similar boat with almost everybody where I say that I do align myself to that. But even though we fall short many times, like I think I'm pretty sure there's a passage. I'm not sure what it says, but it says like the righteous man falls 7 times and gets up again, but like the wicked doesn't, or something like that. So I think
like
I do align myself with that, but I definitely fall short a lot of times.
I think that's part of being human. That's normal, falling
Hmm.
short,
Hmm.
and I like that passage a lot. It's interesting how you tracked your sleeping habits,
Hmm.
right, for a period of time,
Yeah.
and you were able to kind of go back and look back on that
Yeah.
and see kind of where you went right, where you went wrong, and then modify going forward, right?
Hmm.
That's really important. I think tracking, writing things down is super crucial for just like staying on track and hitting your goals.
Exactly. I've
Um,
seen around.
but
There's a saying, or pardon.
yeah, I just want to before we kind of get off this track though,
Hmm.
I want to go back to what you said where it's important to try to like be the best version of yourself, right?
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't lose yourself in that process.
How do you lose yourself? What do you mean?
Because here's the thing, right? Let's
Yeah.
say every day you're just striving to hit your goals, working, exercising,
Hmm.
let's say whatever, quote unquote, bettering yourself to the furthest extent of your self-development.
Hmm.
How are you gonna have time to, I don't know, hang out with friends or foster a community or I don't know, find a partner without, considering these things as taking away from your self-development?
Mm. I think that's
Because
that. That's
because
a
when you're
yeah.
so locked into a routine, sorry for cutting you off,
Yeah. All
you
good.
you consider, like, going out and these things like distractions, right?
Yeah. That is a fair point. That's why I think um, you always need to take it in moderation, because this is similar to what I was saying earlier. How when everyone is saying to be successful, they need a lot of money, but what they really mean is to have more opportunity for freedom. I think it's a similar
Yes.
thing in this instance, where when we say we want to max out, our like mental capacity, our
What we
looks
really
and our
want is
health.
just
What we really want is,
capacity for more opportunity, for a
yeah,
better life.
exactly, capacity for more opportunity to enjoy that downtime better with friends and family.
I think that's really well said.
Mhm.
Oh,
So, in that sense, I'd say that like taking that time off and spending time fostering your relationships is also part of that journey, and not necessarily cutting short on the goals, because in the like how we just discussed, that's what we're working towards. So we're kind of,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and
So what would you
uh,
say currently? I mean, we're going into July, right? It's June 2025.
yeah.
Pretty much halfway through the year.
Hmm.
I feel like at this point, the goals that, we made to ourselves in January as resolutions,
Hmm.
I feel like they're either in effect or if they're not in effect at this point, then something went wrong. So how do you think your year has been so far?
Oh, I have a really interesting take on this. So if you guys are
Okay.
watching, make sure to stick around, because before I say that, I actually want to hear yours, Mate, and then I'll say mine, because I think
Okay.
it's a bit different and a little off track.
I take on my goals.
Yeah, for how you
Also,
asked, like, how's it going? Yeah,
you want me to answer first, eh?
yeah,
Okay, that's a little 180 on me.
yeah, yeah.
All right, well, uh, I'd say I came into this year knowing that, as we're almost done half of university,
Hmm.
we're kind of leaving that a young teenagehood part of our life and becoming young adults. So I really had my eyes set on getting an internship for the summer,
Hmm.
and I think that was
Hmm.
but that was huge getting that. And then honestly just after the end of 2024, I ripped the marathon September. After that, I was kind of struggling to find a consistent goal for myself in terms of fitness. I think going into the new year, I kind of just told myself, I don't really need a goal as long as what I'm doing makes me happy.
Hmm.
So just trying to stay consistent every day. And I feel like so far now I can say that in June, it's really paid off. I think 2025 so far has been a wild year in terms of what's happening in the world. But like in our personal lives, hopefully you can agree. I feel like
Hmm.
2025 has been quite an exponential year.
Yeah, so much has been happening. I'm great that
That's what I'm
that
saying. So much has been
yeah.
happening, and I feel like the growth everywhere, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
I mean,
definitely a year of growth.
a year of growth for sure. I mean, I'm looking at your channel and I'm liking what I'm seeing, man.
Yeah, thank
Pumping
you.
out the numbers, keep it staying consistent.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, by the way,
So
if
yeah,
you
dude, I don't know.
guys, yeah, just a quick pause on that. Yeah, if you guys are watching, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Join the family. We'll be doing more uh,
Don't tell them.
podcasts
Don't
like
forget to
this.
like.
Yeah, don't forget to like. Yeah, make sure to subscribe. We'll be doing more podcasts like this um, with more different people. We're going to be speaking with people just like Matei, some intelligent people about interesting conversations. And we'll also be doing some more book content and also some more Christian focused content. Make sure to subscribe because when we hit 1,000 subscribers, I will be releasing these Thomas Bottia hats to the public, and my author
There
website will
you
go
go.
live. Yeah,
Very nice. Very nice.
yeah. So
Let's see those hats. Give us a 360. Let the viewers check it out.
yeah, so this is a premium
Not bad.
luxury hat. This is 100% cotton. It's not
Okay.
polyester. It's not anything.
Yeah, nothing that'll damage the hair. You want to.
Nothing
We
that'll
like to
damage
keep it
hair.
organic.
Exactly.
We like to keep it organic.
I
Yeah.
like to keep
Yeah.
it organic,
Very nice.
and it's quality because this isn't like painted over. This is embroidered. This is hand sewn.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, hand sewn. Yeah, that's what we're gonna bring here to become part of this, bringing more quality to the media, not more of these short form content. Because I'm gonna be honest, when I initially started YouTube, I did some shorts, but I'm never doing that again because the science did come out of how it's negatively affecting everybody.
I did see that. I did see your last podcast on the brain rot being real.
Yeah, it is real. So you check that out because
It
it,
is
it
real.
is. Yeah, it's read the article too, source in that video because it is something we need to start being more intentional about. And I did want to
Absolutely.
get back to the question for your answer. The reason I postponed it, and I still want to answer you to answer it first, is because I kind of adopted a completely different stance on New Year's resolutions. It may be a little
Okay.
controversial, but let me know in the comments what you guys think down below. But what I think essentially is that New Year's resolutions are a scam. Now, the reason I think they're a
I
scam,
agree with this, Thomas. I agree.
yeah,
I do. I just think that it's important, right? When we come to the end of every year, it's
hmm
important to reflect on the year we've just had,
hmm
and after that reflection, use that kind of use that to reassess the year you're going into.
yeah,
And from there, you can shape your new goals. And I wouldn't call them resolutions. I don't like that term. I agree with you.
hmm
But but I do think it's important to do some reflection at the end of every year.
yeah. For me, the reason that I don't agree with them is because you're kind of postponing this, and it's something similar to you probably face this as well, like in because we're both studying right now. When like back when we used to procrastinate, you'd look at the time and you'd say, "Oh, I'll wait for it to hit like the next hour even, and I'll start studying." Or you'll say, "Oh, I'll wait for this and I'll wait for that." But funny enough, the person I'm quoting here isn't necessarily the motivational speaker, but is a good comedian. Theo Vaughn said, "You can't just
Oh wow.
yeah." He said you can't just um, wait for like all the perfect things to start happening. You just got to start living. So that's why I think if you're waiting for January 1st to start like living your life and start working on it and self developing as we've been speaking in this episode, I think that's just
Yeah.
truly a waste of time. And it's also I think there's like a lack of discipline there because that's really just a an excuse to delay it, and it's also very demotivating because then think about it this way: when you fail, let's say a few months into the New Year's resolution, it's going to be much more hard to get back up because you're going to think I have to wait till next year. But if you take a different
Yeah.
approach, instead of
Yeah.
saying one day, or instead of saying one day, and you say day one, then
What?
if you
That's
got
that's
yeah,
right.
then if you get down, then you can just get back up the next day because you don't have this socially set date to start working on yourself. It could be at any time.
I completely agree. I think when you find yourself stalling in life, lulling, not taking action,
Hmm.
you have to stop thinking and you get to a point where you just got to do.
Hmm.
And actually, it's funny because I want to bring up a little anecdote from my own personal life
Sure.
without name dropping or revealing any personal information. I have a close friend who I've
Hmm.
known since all of high school, but let's say we became pretty close around grade 11, and I've always been active into sports, and I really got into lifting weights. I'd say grade 10. So grade 11, this friend of mine starts asking for advice and motivation, and not that they're out of shape, but they're you'd recommend them take an initiative, right, with
Yeah.
their fitness. So, all of high school, trying to motivate them, trying to get them. And in this situation, right, it's not like you don't have the resources or the information on what to do, right?
Hmm.
Because we live in a time where everything's at the tip of our fingers.
Hmm.
But in this situation, this guy just wasn't, he didn't want it enough. He kept saying, oh, tomorrow, I'll start next week. And now actually he goes to the same school as me, same university, and still see him, and he's still in the same position he was in grade 11. So it is funny because I do love this guy. He's a good friend of mine, but I mean, dude, you either want it or you don't. It's either
That's true.
going to be one day, like with him,
Yeah.
or it's going to be day one. And I feel like for guys like us, it was day one a long time ago. So it's good to see what we're doing.
Yeah. And think about it this way: no matter what you do, the time's gonna pass by anyways. So, like this week just passed, and you didn't really control that. But what you could control is exactly what you said, what it is that you're acting upon and what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah.
Because,
And dude,
yeah,
that's why. Sorry, finish your thought there.
no, you can go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's really important to have like solid systems in place.
Yes.
One could say routines, but just kind of like honestly like a schedule and
Hmm.
writing it down like how you did for your sleep, and just having it set up in a way where you don't have to think about what you're gonna do. You just do it. You just execute,
Hmm.
and then the results just come. So
Yeah.
people like to overcomplicate it when in reality it's very simple.
Yeah, exactly. And I also saw somewhere where it says even when you're like goal setting and you're writing your goals, although that is something good, you're not actually like improving or doing what you want to be done. Because if you say, I want to
Yeah,
mow the lawn, you're not mowing the lawn. So it's better to like not put too much thought into it and just action, like you said.
I agree. I've
Yeah.
actually heard this thing where I forget what the study was that I'm referring, but it's where you have a goal in mind. Let's say you say, "All right, bro, I've been working out for like 8 months now, almost a year. Next week, I'm gonna hit 225." And
Yeah.
you tell all your friends that
Good
one
old
day,
two
and
plates. Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, dude, that's good." Like they're all excited for you, but you actually telling your friends that it triggers like a dopamine response in your brain,
Yes.
so you
Yeah.
get a sense of satisfaction, and that next week comes, you're actually less likely to hit 225 than if you had kept that to yourself and just
Hmm.
acted, right?
Hmm. That's
So yeah,
powerful because it's actually a verse. I'm not sure where it is, but it says, "Mere talk leads only to poverty."
mere talk leads only to poverty.
Hmm.
Wow,
Yeah.
I like that. I think that's a great note to finish on, Thomas.
Yeah, it's a great note to finish on. And before I ask you my final question that I ask to each guest at the end of every podcast, um,
Okay.
is there anything else you'd like to add before we conclude on this self development and hostile culture?
Yeah, I just want to say, keep doing what you're doing, man.
Hmm.
Keep uploading, keep talking to people, keep doing your
Yeah.
thing, because I feel like
What about
one day you can,
for the like for the audience, like for them to
for the general audience,
yeah.
less thinking, more doing. That's it.
Hmm. All right. That
Take
yeah.
action. I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to, like, we're
Yeah.
in 2025. Come on.
Yeah. What are you doing? Yeah. Okay,
That's
here
it.
here it is. If you guys stay to the end, you're gonna really get some valuable knowledge out of this because the question here, Matei, is if think about your biggest philosophical take that you would want the entire world to hear. What would
Yeah.
you want to tell the entire world something in order to improve their life? But the catch is you can only say one word and one word only.
All right, here it is. Ready? Humanity.
Humanity?
Humanity.
Can
That's
you,
it.
dive into that a little? Just explain that.
I can't. And you know why? Because I think that's the beauty of it. As only one word,
Uh huh.
it's power lies within that one word. Think about it. Humanity. We are one. That's all it is.
Uh huh. Matej, Marian, everyone, pleasure to have you on. Um,
Thomas, thank you, dude. The pleasure's all mine. Hopefully, we can run this back maybe next year. But
yeah, we can run this back for sure. And to the
yeah,
audience, that's
hell yeah.
another reason to subscribe because we still have much more to talk about. The burnout society, political, economic turmoil this century,
Ooh,
and the power of deliberate decisions. So if you guys want to see that in another episode with Matej, make sure to subscribe before you never see this again. Yeah.
there you go, guys. Make sure to subscribe.
Yeah, make sure to subscribe. Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, peace out.
Thomas, dude, thank you for having me. We gotta run that back. We gotta run that back.